The last Allied stronghold falls. Smoke chokes the air, a grim epitaph above the smoldering ruins. Exhausted soldiers lay down their arms, the weight of defeat heavier than any rifle. The once bright banner of freedom lies, trampled in the dust, replaced by the chilling emblem of the swastika. This is not the end of a war. It is the beginning of an age of darkness. The Nazi flag casts a long, ominous shadow across the globe. The world watches in stunned silence. The fight for freedom, once a beacon of hope, flickers and dies. In its place, fear takes root, spreading like wildfire through conquered lands and terrified whispers. The victors, drunk on power, begin to reshape the world in their own twisted image. The stench of death lingers in the air, a chilling reminder of the battles fought and lost. The cries of the wounded are slowly silenced, replaced by the heavy tramp of jack-booted feet. The Nazis have won, but at what cost? The world will soon find out. Europe, once a tapestry of diverse cultures and proud nations, a continent where history and heritage intertwined seamlessly, is now a shattered mirror, its fragments scattered and its reflection distorted, reflecting only the twisted vision of the Reich, a vision that seeks to homogenize and dominate. Borders are redrawn with the stroke of a pen, entire nations redefined and reshaped, erasing centuries of history and heritage, obliterating the very essence of what once was. The Nazi regime, like a venomous spider, spins its web of control, meticulously and relentlessly, ensnaring every aspect of life within its sticky threads, leaving no room for freedom or dissent. The iron fist of occupation crushes all dissent, its grip unyielding and merciless. Resistance is met with swift and brutal force, a show of power meant to instill fear and submission, a lesson etched in blood and fear, a stark reminder of the consequences of defiance. The once proud people of conquered nations are now subjects, their autonomy stripped away, forced to their knees, their spirits broken beneath the heel of tyranny, their identities crushed. Collaboration becomes the key to survival, a bitter pill that many are forced to swallow. Some embrace the new order, seduced by promises of power or blinded by fear, their loyalty bought with threats and incentives, their actions driven by self-preservation. Others retreat into the shadows, their defiance hidden but not extinguished, their resentment simmering beneath the surface, waiting for a chance to ignite, to reclaim their freedom. The heart of this new Europe, Berlin, pulses with the arrogant swagger of victory, a city transformed into a symbol of Nazi dominance. Monumental buildings, cold and imposing, rise from the ashes, their architecture a testament to the regime's ambition, monuments to Nazi power and ambition, casting long shadows over the conquered lands. The air crackles with paranoia, suspicion, and the ever-present threat of violence, a society gripped by fear, where trust is a luxury and survival is paramount. With the fall of Europe, the dominoes begin to fall across the globe. The once unthinkable becomes reality as nations buckle under the pressure of an advancing darkness. Democracy, once a beacon of hope, flickers and dims, its light struggling to pierce through the encroaching shadows. The ideals that once inspired revolutions and movements for freedom now seem like distant memories, its flames starved for oxygen in the suffocating grip of fear. The very air that once carried the songs of liberty now chokes with the smoke of oppression. Nations once proud to stand as bastions of freedom crumble under the weight of Nazi influence, their histories rewritten and futures darkened. The iron fist of tyranny squeezes the life out of democratic institutions, their ideals sacrificed on the altar of self-preservation. Leaders, once champions of the people, now make deals with the devil, hoping to save their skins at the cost of their souls. Fear, a potent weapon, proves more persuasive than any treaty or alliance. The power of propaganda and the threat of violence turn even the bravest hearts cold. Countries on the fringes of Nazi power rush to appease the New World Order, abandoning their principles in a desperate bid for survival. The once clear lines between right and wrong blur in the face of existential threats, abandoning their principles in a desperate bid for survival. The flags of freedom are replaced with symbols of oppression, and the voices of dissent are silenced. Neutrality becomes a shield, flimsy and easily pierced, but the only defense against annihilation. Nations that once stood tall now cower, hoping to avoid the wrath of a relentless enemy, but the only defense against annihilation. Civilians, caught in the crossfire, seek refuge wherever they can, their lives upended by forces beyond their control. The world stage, once platform for diplomacy and cooperation, transforms into a theater of shadows and whispers. The grand halls of international dialogue now echo with mistrust and deceit. Alliances fracture, trust evaporates, and the language of power becomes the only dialect understood. The bonds that once united nations in common cause are now frayed and broken. The fight for freedom, once a global chorus, is reduced to a scattering of isolated verses, sung in hushed tones by those who dare to remember. Resistance becomes a whisper in the dark, a flicker of hope in a sea of despair, sung in hushed tones by those who dare to remember. In secret meetings and hidden corners, the spirit of democracy clings to life, nurtured by the brave few who refuse to let it die. The virus of totalitarianism spreads, carried on the winds of fear and fueled by the silence of complicity. It infects societies, turning neighbor against neighbor and eroding the very fabric of community. It infects every corner of the globe, twisting minds, poisoning hearts, and leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered dreams in its wake. The reach of tyranny extends far and wide, leaving no place untouched, and leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered dreams in its wake. The hopes of a generation are dashed, and the future seems bleak and uncertain. The world, once vibrant and diverse, shrinks under the suffocating blanket of Nazi ideology. Cultures are suppressed, identities erased, and the rich tapestry of humanity is reduced to a monochrome of fear and control. Across the Atlantic, the United States, a distant witness to the fall of Europe, faces a chilling reality. They stand alone. The once distant echoes of war have now become a deafening roar, reaching the shores of a nation unprepared for the storm that looms on the horizon. The beacon of hope, once a symbol of freedom for the world, is now a fortress, bracing for the inevitable onslaught. The Statue of Liberty, a welcoming sight for immigrants and dreamers, now stands surrounded by barbed wire and military fortifications, a stark reminder of the perilous times. Isolation, once a choice, becomes a necessity as the dark tendrils of Nazi influence snake across the ocean, seeking to strangle the last bastion of democracy. The propaganda, once dismissed as distant threats, now infiltrates American shores, spreading fear and uncertainty among its citizens. The nation, once teeming with industry and innovation, transforms into a war machine, its factories churning out weapons instead of dreams. The assembly lines that once produced cars and household goods now manufacture tanks, planes, and ammunition, a testament to the country's shift in priorities. The specter of war hangs heavy in the air, a suffocating presence that touches every aspect of life. Streets, once bustling with activity, now echo with the sounds of air raid sirens and the sight of citizens donning gas masks, preparing for the worst. Rationing becomes the new normal, a constant reminder of the sacrifices demanded by survival. Families adapt to the scarcity of everyday items, learning to make do with less as they contribute to the war effort. Fear and paranoia grip the nation, fueled by whispers of spies and saboteurs lurking in the shadows. Neighbors who once shared friendly conversations now eye each other with suspicion, wary of potential threats within their own communities. Civil liberties erode in the name of security as the government, desperate to maintain control, tightens its grip on information and dissent. Newspapers, once a source of free expression, now feature censored headlines, reflecting the growing tension between freedom and safety. Suspicion poisons communities, turning neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend. Community meetings, once a place for unity and support, now bristle with tension and distrust as the fear of the unknown takes hold. The American spirit, once characterized by optimism and a boundless belief in the future, grows weary under the constant threat. The flag, often a symbol of pride, now flies at half-mast, a somber reflection of the nation's collective anxiety and grief. The dream of a land of opportunity fades, replaced by the grim reality of a nation fighting for its very survival. Abandoned factories and desolate streets paint a bleak picture as citizens queue for supplies, their faces etched with worry and determination. Yet, even in the darkest hours, a flicker of defiance remains, an ember of hope refusing to be extinguished. The American flag, waving in the wind, serves as a beacon of resilience. The determined faces of its citizens, engaging in small acts of defiance, remind the world that the spirit of freedom and democracy, though battered, is far from broken.